Hello, my name is Dr. Paul Cottrell. We're going to go over a bunch of events that took place last night. The Syrian ambush that killed American service members, the shooting that took place in Brown University, and also the terrorism that took place in Australia on Bondi Beach. Thank you for joining. I greatly appreciate you to subscribe to all my channels. Make sure you click the bell to get notifications and do a thumbs up to help support spreading the work that I do. Ask your social media to follow me. I do all these videos for free. I have thousands of videos for free. If you'd like to support the work, please share the links and ask your social media to follow me. You can follow me on many different channels in many different ways. I have YouTube, Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble, TikTok, Substack, Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon. There's lots of ways to follow me. So please take a look at all the links that I have in the description of this video. Subscribe and help support the work. You can be a paid member to my Patreon channel or Substack, or even a member on my Buy Me a Coffee to help support the work regularly. I greatly appreciate it. You can also donate on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. But again, all these videos are for free. All right? I don't put stuff behind a paywall. So thank you for the ones that do support. And I also have very high quality supplements that you really need to take to improve your health and wellness. These are supplements that I take every day to slow down the aging process, boost up my immune system. I'm in my 50s. If you just take my advice, you're going to slow down the aging process. It works. I've been playing around with this type of protocol since I was 16 years old. So all you got to do is just learn from what I've accumulated over the many decades and customize it to what you want to target. Now, if you do everything I do, you're going to get huge benefits. But some people can't afford that. I understand. And I'll tell you how to get the most bang for your buck in terms of slowing down the aging process and boosting up your immune system and helping your different organ systems that may be problematic for you. All right, so we're going to be talking about the Syrian issue, Bondi Beach, and Brown University. Before we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the structural nano silver soaps. These are very high quality, great for your skin. You can get them in charcoal tea tree, lemongrass, peppermint, and also in lavender. So get a few bars for your household. Use them as gifts for the holidays. Perfect. Make sure you use discount 5. You get $5 off any order. All caps, discount 5. You get $5 off. And also, because we're in the winter season, it's really important to be prepared. You know, there's something called sub K that's floating around. You're probably going to get it. So get the Max 35 and get the Cleanse. Cleanse is 30 parts per million. Max 35 is 35 parts per million. It's part of my anti-aging protocol. It's one of the first pillars. What this will do is boost up your immune system. How do you use it? Take a teaspoon a day, every day, swish in your mouth, gargle about 20 seconds, and swallow it. This will improve your oral cavity, your oral pharynx, help with your mucosal barrier, and help the health of your epithelial cells. That way, you're boosting up your immune system and you're neutralizing. It's really important to take every day to slow down the aging process. I've been doing this for over 5 years, every day. If you're not feeling well or someone around you is not feeling well, take a tablespoon or 2 a day, and then go back to your maintenance dose of a teaspoon once everything is all better. So please, take my advice, get the Max 35 or Cleanse, take it every day. And lastly, it's the winter season. Be prepared. Like I said, sub K is coming around the corner. Problem in the UK. Get blueberry drops, structural nano silver, and also honey and lemon and cherry. So you got 3 flavors that you can choose from. Get a few bags for your household. Be prepared for the winter season.
Is there something else I can help with?
Be prepared for the winter season. All right? Get a few bags for your household. Use discount 5. You get $5 off any order. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. But it's really important to prepare for the winter season because we have Special K. That's not special. Some Class K. That's around the corner here, and you also have problems with razor throat and other issues that are floating around. So it's just better to be prepared. Boost up that immune system. The moment you have that throat irritation, take them right away. If you're around someone that's not feeling well, take them prophylactically. All right, we're going to go to the Brown University shooting incident here. Oh, wait, no. I think that this is CNN. I think they're going to transition in this clip to the Bondi Beach. So I think we'll start with Bondi Beach.
To Bondi Beach, there is a shooting there today.
Cowardly act of terrifying violence is shocking and painful to see and represents some of our worst fears about terrorism in Sydney. I very sadly need to report that as of now, there are at least 12 individuals that have been killed. One of the offenders has also been killed and one is in custody. This attack was designed to target Sydney's Jewish community on the first day of Hanukkah. What should have been a night of peace and joy celebrated in that community with families and supporters has been shattered by this horrifying, evil attack. Commissioner Lanyon will speak about the investigation and the police response, as well as the designation of this attack as a terrorism event in Sydney. I can assure the community it will be met with a massive, comprehensive police and public order response. Our heart bleeds for Australia's Jewish community tonight. I can only imagine the pain that they're feeling right now to see their loved ones killed as they celebrate this ancient holiday. It's a responsibility of all Australians to wrap their arms around Australia's Jewish community and help them get through this incredibly difficult period. This is a massive, complex, and just beginning investigation. It's just begun, and there are things that tonight we don't have the answers to. However, we do have answers to some crucial pieces of information for our wonderful city and our beautiful state. The first one is the outpouring of love and support from ordinary Australians for Australia's Jewish community is real. Secondly, today is another example of the enormous pressure.
It's interesting that yesterday's video that I did, he was analyzing the strategic plan that was released by Trump with a foreign affairs expert. So that's I didn't realize he was the premier.
Responsibility, the danger that New South Wales police regularly face as part of their job. They do it without faltering. They didn't falter today. We need them. And thirdly, tonight saw extraordinary acts of personal courage and bravery from individuals in our community. And I think it's worth remembering.
This is important to pay attention to because you didn't see this at Brown University. They hid. They hid under their table. They hid in the closet. Some students were having anxiety problems. To handle situations like this, you need to have overwhelming force pushing back on the perpetrator. That means that the ones that are being targeted, the student body or a group of individuals, no matter what the situation is, need to assess the situation and people need to act in numbers to fight against the individual, to overpower them. Now, does that mean that further people may be harmed? Yeah. But the thing is that you're reducing the probability of more people being killed, especially if the perpetrator has more ammo. The thing is that we need a society that pushes back. We need a society that is more conservative and more willing to fight than to cower. We've been told by our government officials, by the media, by even presidents of universities to just hide. Here's a situation in New South Wales. I guess that's where Bondi Beach is. That if you push back, you can actually save lives. That's what we need. That's what we need. And experts that we'll be playing today on the show will be stating the same thing that I just said. You need to push back. But there's too many people that are self-centered, that want to just protect their own life and not protect and be a sheepdog for the individuals that are in this situation. And the perpetrators, they know that you'll hide. They know that you won't fight back. And therefore, that's one of the impetuses that allows them to do this. That gives them the confidence to do it. But if you have a society that pushes back, then they stop. So we have this situation here where you had individuals that overpowered the perpetrator and stopped it cold. Take a look at Brown University. The person was able to escape. He's in custody now. He was able to escape from the building, and none of the students went and ran after him. Why? Because they were scared. They were self-centered. They believed in a system that is going to protect them, and the system never protects you, ever. You have a president at the university didn't even know what was going on, and didn't even bother to show up for the first meeting with the press. Right? It's crazy. It's crazy. Students today, especially in the Ivy League, need to have a stronger constitution with musculature, with kinematics, with fortitude, be more patriotic, take risks. Instead, what we have is students that know how to get a high SAT score, find ways to have some sort of mental disability so they get extra time on a test. And it's about self-centeredness and not personal sacrifice. So if you have the elite students being basically a bunch of beta males, don't you think that the elite people that are going to be running society are going to be a bunch of beta males? Of course. Do you think that's going to make a strong society? Absolutely not. So the self-correction here is that when you're in a situation like this, you got to be a sheepdog. You can't be the sheep.
In all of this sadness, there are still wonderful, brave Australians that are prepared to risk their lives to help a complete stranger. Yeah?
Exactly.
Throw it as hard as you want. Go on. Watching it zip away feels like it might just keep going, right? Nope, here it comes. This thing's a total game.
No?
Yeah. But we'll do the compare and contrast. But you had a lot of you had a student body that's not willing to fight in Brown. Now, like, compare that. Do you think that something like that would happen at West Point? Do you think that some guy is going to walk into the engineering building and start shooting West Point graduates and get away with it? Maybe there needs to be a lesson learned here. A lesson learned that students don't hide under your desk, don't hide in the closet, stop whining that you have some sort of anxiety disorder, stop being selfish, and neutralize the enemy. Could you die? Yes. So what? least you did the right thing. No, you gotta hide. You gotta hide because your life is more important. Now compare this generation that's at Brown University to the greatest generation that actually stormed Normandy. Can you imagine these beta males storming Normandy today?
Thank you, Premier. Good evening. Premier has outlined the brief circumstances this evening. I'll go through them again, then more than happy to take some questions. About 6:47 p.m. this evening, police started to receive a number of reports of shots fired at Archer Park at Bondi. Archer Park is a grassed area just north of the Bondi Pavilion. Police responded promptly. Unfortunately, at least 12 people are deceased at this time. 29 people have been transported to various hospitals around the Sydney area, including 2 police officers. The condition of those officers and the other transported are serious, but there is a range of conditions. Our thoughts, prayers and love go to all the families and all of those that were involved tonight. We know that there were many people there to celebrate a happy occasion, the celebration of Hanukkah, and there was well over 1,000 people there when this took place. As a result of the circumstances of the incident tonight, at 9:36 p.m. this evening, I declared this to be a terrorist incident. I have also authorised special powers under Section 5 and Section 6 to ensure that if there is a third offender, and we are currently investigating that at the moment, we will make sure that we prevent any further activity. Section 6 allows us to investigate today's incident. There is a massive police response, and I think as journalists you have seen how quickly and promptly the police responded. I'm incredibly proud of the professionalism of our police and emergency service responders. They have done a fantastic job. Unfortunately, it's only several years ago that Bondi occurred at Bondi Junction. We have learnt a lot from that, and tonight ambulance and police and other emergency responders acted properly and professionally to do a great job there. We will have a significant investigation. Our Counter-Terrorism Command will lead this investigation with investigators from the State Crime Command. No stone will be left unturned. This type of disgraceful activity, this wanton use of violence, the taking of innocent lives is unacceptable to New South Wales. It's not our way of life. I've been very clear since I've been the Commissioner that as a police force, we won't stand for this type of violence. I'm personally offended. You have seen that the police have already taken prompt action. The Premier has mentioned one of the offenders is deceased. The second one is in serious condition in hospital. We will focus to ensure that there is no further threat to the public. Can I ask, but this is a time of calm. This is a time where I want to make sure that there is no retribution. The police are investigating thoroughly. We have acted promptly. We have taken decisive action. Could I just ask for calm in the community? Allow the police to do our job. We will work closely with community and I'll continue to provide updates about the investigations that go on. Thank you. I'll hand over to the Minister and then happy to take questions.
So, do we have an age range of the victims over 6,000 not ready to see?
No, very early. Sorry, I don't have those details at the moment. As you can imagine, there has been a fair dislocation. The ambulance service responded brilliantly. They've had to convey people right around the city to numerous hospitals. So at this stage, we don't have those details. Sorry, let's ask one at a time. Sorry. We're working through that at the moment. Obviously, part of the declaration is because I have information about the deceased shooter. It's not something I'm prepared to give at the moment. It will be part of the investigation, but we will work tirelessly through our Counter-Terrorism Command to make sure we investigate all of the circumstances.
Commissioner, the 12 people that are deceased, do they include the gunman that is deceased or the gun that hit?
We've set up the 12 deceased at the moment. This is a really fluid situation. I would like to provide more certainty, but certainly the numbers that we are talking at the moment include the gunman.
Were any children among the deceased?
At this stage, I don't believe so. However, I do believe that a child was transported to hospital. Again, I don't want to give information that turns out to be incorrect. It is very early. We know that there has been a number of people turn up to hospital. We've had 29 others transported, and we know people are still turning up there. Unfortunately, in these sort of circumstances, we get information from a range of areas. We tend to be as safe as we possibly can so that we know that we have 2 definite offenders, but we want to make sure the community is safe. So we will run down this investigation. The reason that we have so many investigators out tonight is we want to make sure that that happens. The fact that we've declared this as a terrorist incident, we've provided special powers, is to make sure that we prevent any further. I cannot confirm there is a third offender, but I want to make sure there's no stone left unturned. No, I'm well aware on social media that an identity of a person believed to be one of the government has been circulated there. When I ask for calm, that is really important. This is not a time for retribution. This is a time to allow the police to do their duty. So police are responding to make sure that all of the community is safe. That is our role.
What can you tell us about public order riots where officers raiding homes? Is that under right now?
What I'd say to you is that we have police right around the city at the moment to make sure that all of the community is safe. I don't want to go into too much specific activity. Our job is to respond to intelligence we get, respond to information, but make sure the community is safe. So unashamedly, we do have a lot of public order and rights squad and other police out on the streets at the moment to make sure there is calm. This disgraceful act will not go unpunished. Sorry. Certainly we're police patrolling that area. We were well aware and we work closely with the Jewish community in terms of Hanukkah. The Jewish community has its own security group we work very closely with. So there were police present. The fact there was such prompt action taken demonstrates the police were present.
Is there not an active threat now, right?
Sorry?
Is there still an active threat?
No, what I've said before is that we're aware definitely of 2 offenders at the moment. One of those is deceased, one is in the hospital at the moment. We want to investigate thoroughly so that if there is a 3rd offender or any other people are linked to this matter, we will investigate them and take action against them.
What intelligence do you have about this third person? Was he there with a gun? Is he outside of the area? What intelligence do you have? I think people need calm and worry that there's someone on the run still.
It's way too early to give that information. The community can be very reassured that the police responded quickly. The police have responded in numbers. We have a significant investigation underway at the moment. We will be following all people linked to those gunmen that we know, and we'll take action to keep the community safe. The community can rest assured that the police will take positive action to keep them safe.
What weapons were used and were they thought to destroy? What can you tell us about this improvised explosive device?
It's way too early to give any description of the firearms other than to say that they were long arms. Where they came from, their background, how they came to be in possession of the offenders, it's too early to say. As part of the investigation and shortly after the shooting occurred, police located a vehicle in Campbell Parade at Bondi, which we believe has several improvised explosive devices. We have our rescue bomb disposal unit there at the moment working on that.
What is the latest on that?
It's still underway at the moment. It's too early to say that. As I said, we've got our rescue and bomb disposal unit there. They will take the appropriate action. They're experts in their field.
Were either of the 2 individuals deceased and the one in custody known to authorities before the season?
Only little on the offender that's deceased at the moment. I won't go into their background. That's obviously part of the investigation. Certainly form part of my consideration as whether to consider this to be a terrorist event.
Were the gunmen licensed to hold firearms? Whether they were going to anger or
It's too early in that investigation.
Why did you declare it terrorist?
There was a range of circumstances. Obviously, the fact that it's the first day of Hanukkah, the types of weapons, the offenders, some of the other items we found at the scene. As I said, we have found an improvised explosive device in the car, which is linked to the deceased offender. So there's a range of circumstances, and obviously the Jewish community has a right to feel safe. We will take serious action.
Commissioner, you knew about the gun that was deceased. How did you miss this attack? No.
I don't even think that's a reasonable question. What I said is that we are aware of the person. That does not mean there was any specific threat posed by that person. If the police had had intelligence that there was a risk to the community or to this event, we would have taken significant action. This is a tragic event. This is not the time to be pointing the finger. There will be a thorough investigation. My main focus is to make sure that the community feels safe and know that the police are there to support them and keep them safe.
Commissioner, how can 2 people with guns, improvised explosive devices in a car, organise something like this with a 3rd person and police do not know that it's coming?
Well, I think if you think about this,
This banana peel isn't garbage. It's a resource because I have a mill of food recycling. It's a real positive choice I can make every day at lunch and at dinner or when I find.
Well, I think if you think about the size of the community here, our police do a fantastic job. Day in, day out, you see the work that we do to prevent crimes happening. We need intelligence to actually do that. As I said, the person that we know has very, very little knowledge to the police. So he's not someone that we would have automatically been looking at this time.
What can you tell us about two police officers who have their ranks and anyone at the end of the state?
I wouldn't want to provide those details at the moment. We're obviously got next of kin coming down. Their loved ones will be with them. I want to make sure that they have some time and peace before we do. It's too early to provide that information.
Do you have a condition report at all?
Serious, verging on critical, and both are in surgery on top. I can't confirm that, sorry.
This is not a lot of the Premier. Have you spoken to the Prime Minister and is there any indication in national terror threat level being raised?
I have spoken to the Prime Minister. I'll leave that up to him to inform the public of. But he offered all the support to New South Wales, and we both reflected on how shocking and terrifying this evil attack was. Look, I understand that. This is a shocking event. It's not common in Australia, and it's all the more shocking because of that. What I can say is that there will be a comprehensive police response. Anything New South Wales Police needs in terms of resources, we will provide them. If there's changes that need to be made, we will do that immediately. I mean, we need to be in a situation where we're sending a clear and unambiguous message to the Jewish community, in fact, every Australian that lives in the state, that these horrible acts of violence will never be tolerated, and anyone who perpetrates them, we will throw the book at. Anyone who's thinking about it will be thoroughly investigated. This is a terrible night for Sydney, but I think it's important to say we can't let these evil people divide Australia up. We need to be in a situation where, as shocking as this is, there are still wonderful people in the Bondi community right throughout New South Wales. That's what these terrorists want. They want Australians divided and at each other's throats, and we can't let that happen. In fact, we won't let that happen.
Premier, at least should be potentially have worked together to organise a mass shooting event with shotguns at Bondi Beach. If there's been hiding things in a car planted nearby, further to what I asked the Commissioner, has there been a failure here? Has there been a failure in intelligence or policing?
Look, I mean, I think in the circumstances, it's reasonable that both the government and the police conduct an investigation. There will be, of course, a full inquiry. But when you're looking at several hours after this horrifying event, it's important that police focus on community safety right now and ensuring that the immediate vicinity is locked down, that the public, those who've been injured, are transported to hospital, and that there's not an immediate ongoing threat. There'll be plenty of times for a thorough investigation, and I can assure the public that that will take place. But we need to let the police do their job tonight.
I mean, is there any analysis from the Australian Federal Police?
I'm not going to get into that.
Is there any information into the motive of the offenders beyond it being terrorist?
No, I mean, the fact that it was the first day of Hanukkah, that there were Jewish families celebrating as a community in Bondi. It's shocking and terrible and self-evidently a terrorist act.
So here we have many dead, but we had an individual or individuals that came in and tried and did neutralize the terrorist. That's what the lesson learned here is. You need to not be afraid, and you need to neutralize the perpetrator. All right. With that, let's listen into the Brown University incident.
Hi, hello. I'm Marty Taxler, and my 5-volume series can help you unlock your hidden tax credit.
This is the CNN. I want to go to ABC. They were interviewing one of the students. All right, let's listen in here. And this is going to, I'll be able to
I'm going to go
give
ahead
you
and bring in
Ref
The
Barry.
reason why I
is a
have
student here
my
at the university,
opinion.
and Ref, I understand that you were in the building or nearby as you heard the shots ring out.
Yeah, the shots rang out behind me. So I was in Barrison Hallway, the physics and engineering building, and yeah, it happened all behind me.
And what did you hear? What did you see? And what was going through your mind at the time?
Now, engineering student, does he look like he has a very strong musculature, athletic ability? No, not even close. See, students today need to start having an ideal that was very Romanesque or Greek ideal, and that is the body and the mind. Not just the mind, not just the body, not just the stupid jock, not just an egghead student, the body and the mind. All right? But universities today aren't doing that. They used to, but not anymore. So you have a weak student here. All right? So the Constitution is weak.
So what happened is I had just had a meeting with my satellite team, the T-Rex team, and I was heading down. So we have a physics office on the first floor of Barrison Hallway. So I left the first floor office, and there is a step of stairs that connects the old part of Barrison Hallway to the new part. The old part is the physics part, the new part is the engineering part.
All right.
So I'm walking
Okay.
down these steps.
So I'm going to roll this back a little bit so you can see them. Maybe it'll be better if I bring it up here. Okay, so you can see this. Okay, I'm going to be focused on these pictures here. All the students are on their fucking cell phone. All of them. They're lined up, crouched under, behind cubicles and stuff. All right? All of them are. They're crouched down and they're all on, texting mommy or doing TikTok or whatever. Why didn't they use these cell phones to actually throw at the perpetrator? Why? Look at all these students. Look at all these students. They're just cowered. Meanwhile, the perpetrator was able to just leave unimpeded. All right, but let's roll back a little bit here. Okay. Once again, egghead student. Egghead student. Most of them are egghead students that don't have, musculature to fight back. They're told not to. They're a bunch of beta people. All right. And then you have in this picture here, the students, this is a little blurry, but the students are in like cubicles, maybe they're study centers or something in a library, it looks like. And they're ducked down. Okay? All of them are on their cell phone. Here you can see that they're on their cell phone. If you are so addicted to your cell phone that someone can take advantage of you like this, there's a problem. And when you don't realize that you can use this as a weapon to subdue the perpetrator, you're an idiot, especially if you're an engineering student. See? Weak students. And when you show weakness, then there are people that will take advantage of you. This is in the hallway. People are standing. Every single one of them has a cell phone. Now, it looks like there's a police officer at the very end, or maybe a security guard at the very end of the hallway. So this is probably several minutes, if not tens of minutes after the actual shooting. Now I'm looking at these students. They don't look like they're that strong. Bunch of eggheads. This is what we're producing at the elite institutions? A bunch of beta people that were cower? You got to fight back. What did we see in Bondi Beach? They fought back. They subdued. The guy took the gun away from him, took the rifle away from him, and aimed it at him. You see that with these students? No. Why didn't they go run? Why didn't the most athletic of these engineering students, which they're not at all because they're a bunch of eggheads, but why not they at least 3 or 4 go run after the guy when he was leaving the building? Now they did catch the perpetrator, but they could have caught him earlier. See, we have students that are weak. And these same types of students, on average, at these universities, 30% of the student body, I'm not saying 30% of them because they're engineers, but 30% of the student body at these elite institutions are mentally disabled. They're asking for more time on a test because they have ADHD. Is this what society has created? These are going to be your leaders. These are going to be the ones that are going to be running your towns and running your businesses. If we don't embrace that ethic of body and mind, you're going to have a weak society. All right, let's continue.
I had just had a meeting with my satellite team, the T-Rex team, and I was heading down. So we have a physics office on the first floor of Garrison Hollow. So I left the first floor office, and there is a step of stairs that connects the old part of Garrison Hollow to the new part. The old part is the physics part, the new part is the engineering part. So I'm walking down these steps of stairs. I'm about to head to the diner, the Ratty. And when I'm on the second or third step of the staircase, I hear this pop, 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 like punctuated, like pop sounds, like 6 or 7 of them ring out behind me. And I've never heard anything like that in my life. So the first.
Did you instantly know that it was gunfire, or you thought maybe it was something else?
No, I thought, okay, you have no idea that, this thing is real in the moment, right? There's no kind of fact check in real life. I glanced behind me very quickly, and the lobby of Garrison Holly was empty, or so it seemed. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm tripping. In front of me, the ERC, the commons area of Garrison Holly is full with about 100 students. Everyone is prepping for final exams, final projects. So I'm thinking in that split second, okay, maybe I misheard something. And then it just rings out like pop, pop, pop again. And then I just run as fast as I can. And in the moment when I start to run, people in the lobby, people in the common area.
So the fight or flight mechanism kicked in. But when you have a stronger constitution and you can control your reptilian brain, there are certain people that don't run away. They run into the event. This is a classic example of the problems that we have with students today. They run away. They don't run to the problem. Now, do you want to hire someone that runs away from problems, or do you want someone that runs to problems? The students could have easily overpowered the individual. They failed. They failed. Now, if you think I'm wrong, take a look at what just fucking happened in Australia. There were individuals that were willing to take risks and subdue the perpetrator. These are your leaders. These are your future leaders, where they haven't coupled body and mind.
At first, when people start taking out their headphones, people are initially confused. At the moment I start running, there's 5 or 6 others running at the same time. And then there's just massive, nobody says anything. There's no
Was it
kind of.
a herd?
It's a herd effect.
Rushing to the doors. Describe what that was like.
So-
We're looking at some video right here of people who were hunkering down in the classrooms.
Yeah.
Describe those moments.
So the ERC, the commons area of Barrison Hall, has 2 exits. So imagine 100 kids.
What should have happened was these students should, when they start hearing pop, 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 all right, you go down, you try to assess. Some of the guys, because there were males and females in this co-education environment, the males should have said, Johnny, or or whoever, we're gonna get up and we're gonna hunt them down. Who's with me? No, none of these fuckers did that. None of them, because they're weak. They're fucking weak. And this is why this happens all the time. Because if you had a situation, you had a society that says, we're going to push back on these people that are the perpetrators. If we had a society that pushed back on them, they would stop. They would stop. But because we have a bunch of beta males in these schools, they're taken advantage of. Why weren't there at least 3 males that said, we're going to hunt him down? Why? I'll tell you why. Because you have a student body that hasn't coupled the body and mind, so they're weak. You have their parents that have coddled them their whole fucking life, and you have an administration at the university that says hide.
There's not a single word. Nobody is saying anything.
Yeah,
It's
right,
just silent
right,
and
right,
gunshots behind it.
Right, because it was fear. The adrenaline kicks in, the fear kicks in, they're hunkered down, right? But why weren't there at least 3 people that said, we're going to coordinate and we're going to find him and we're going to hunt him down? Why? Because their whole life has been coddled.
And so I run out through the left exit, and everyone is just running behind.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Why weren't they smart enough to go outside and wait to see if the perpetrator leaves and then hunt him down? The perpetrator should have been killed by the students. That's the point I'm making. Why didn't they have that sense of urgency? Why didn't they have that sense of, we will protect our herd? Because they can't. They can't. Because the system has beat it out of them, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of beta males that are a bunch of eggheads that can't fight for their country.
and it's like insane. It's like out of a movie scene. Yeah.
Yeah, it's out of a
You
movie
get
scene.
into the building, and then what? You start getting the alerts from authorities that you need to shelter in place.
Look at this guy. That's even ABC. Even the ABC guy has low T. Look at this guy. What the hell is wrong with this country? You look at that. You snapshot it and then compare it to the greatest generation. And now you know why our country is run by a bunch of idiots. All I heard was, I ran. I was scared. That's all I hear from this kid. Out of hundreds of students, you couldn't find 3 alpha males to hunt the fucker down? What the hell is wrong with these kids?
It came a while after. So the gunshots, you understand, were happening in the moment. So there was not even any time for the alert to happen. And so I ran as fast as I could from Barrison Holly to the opposite side of the street. And I called my parents.
Called my parents. I ran across the street and I called my parents. That's what this guy's saying. Didn't coordinate with any of the other students to try to hunt the guy down. Because if you subdue the guy, you may be preventing further individuals from being killed. Now, this is not theoretical, what I'm saying, because on the same fucking day, something different happened in Australia. You had bystanders that actually engaged and neutralized the perpetrator. See? See the difference? Elite school. Elite school. Elite individuals that are going to be leaders of our communities. Bunch of beta males. I called my parents. What he should have done was not call your parents. You should have coordinated with your classmates in that building and hunted the guy down. Anything less than that is unacceptable. Oh, that might have hurt the student. But that is the self-sacrifice to protect the herd. Oh, now we're getting to the root cause of the problem. It's about egoism. His life is more important than other people's lives. Bullshit. It's bullshit. That's what it is. Blame the parents, blame the school system, and blame society that keeps on saying they're going to protect you. Now let's go back. Let's go back to 9/11. All right? And when you had the passengers overrun the cockpit, knowing that they were going to die, to prevent that plane from hitting other buildings and eventually crash in Pennsylvania. That's what I'm talking about. That's how you protect the herd. Would he do that? Of course not, because he's a fucking pussy.
I was running to my apartment, which is on Third Street, and but my brain was just like blank. I was just running. It was like,
Did you see anybody get hurt, injured, or law enforcement during that run as you were trying to get away?
no law enforcement. The event was happening in that
real
moment.
time.
In that moment, and I just heard students
Couldn't coordinate with people in the building while he was there. He ran out, had to call mommy when he crossed the street. Hopefully he looked both ways so he didn't get hit by a car. And didn't somehow coordinate with students outside the building to try to make sure that, if a guy is running out, potentially is the suspect, to run after him. See my point? This is the big difference between Rhode Island, Providence, Ivy League education, and a Hanukkah party in Australia. The Hanukkah party in Australia, the people that were there, they neutralized the individual. Elite education and a bunch of pussies. Couldn't think through the problem. He's an engineer. Couldn't think through the problem. He's in the building. He couldn't coordinate with other males to neutralize the perpetrator. They could have saved more lives. Could they have been harmed? Yes, but that's part of being a sheepdog. I have zero respect for this guy. Zero. Like that much. Zero.
But the weird thing is that so I ran from Barrison Hall to the other side of the street, and on the other side of the street there's the science library. And folks coming out of the science library had no idea what was going on. So as I was running, I started shouting active shooter, like run. And there were two kids who were at first confused, and then when they saw me run, they started to run the other way.
But active shooter. There was other kids there. Maybe we could have coordinated and tried to save other students. Get the police to triangulate where he's in the building. No, he had to run and call mommy. There's reports of a female student hiding in the closet with other students, and she was having a panic attack. Must have been one of those ADHD students that are mentally disabled. This is a problem here. If you have a society that doesn't couple the body and the mind, where you have intelligence and have athletic ability. Now, you don't have to be a football star, but at least have some athletic ability, build some strength. I mean, dude, this guy's an egghead, all right? And he didn't have the brains to coordinate with other students to save them. No, they saved themselves. They saved themselves. So what we have is a self-centered generation. We have self-centered people not willing to protect the herd. This is the reason why we have a society that is devolving. Not the greatest generation. Not at all. Not at all. And you can blame it on their parents.
Well, on near Starbucks, so on the other side of the science library, like where I was running on Hill Street, everyone was just normal. Nobody knows what's going on.
Forgive me, we're running out of time here, but I just wanted to ask you.
So some people would say, well, he did the right thing. He ran and called mommy because he protected himself. And, he didn't die. He didn't take the risk of neutralizing the perpetrator. It was in his building. He could have coordinated with other students, but instead they ran. But they saved their lives. Now, well, wait a minute here. Think about the great opportunities you have economically and the safety you have based on the sacrifice of others. Do you deserve it? Does he deserve the freedoms that he has? What about the people that lost their lives to maintain constitutional freedoms, to maintain peace and security? He runs. He runs. So you can tell the ethos of someone. Do they run into the fire or do they run away from the fire? And most people run away. And there's the problem. So let me get this straight. He deserves his constitutional freedoms? He deserves to be at an elite institution? Where's the self-sacrifice? Ain't there. Because mommy and daddy programmed it out of him. Being a sheepdog for males, it's hardwired. You got to be taught not to be a sheepdog.
How long were you on lockdown? And what was that like?
So I actually, I was kindly taken in by a friend, Allie. We hid in her bathroom for 2 hours. 4 of us in like a small bathroom for 2 hours.
Why didn't they coordinate to hunt the guy down? Why didn't someone in the student body said, okay, we're going to lock the doors. We're going to lock the doors in the hallways or in the building and try to capture the individual or get him cornered in the building a certain way so the police can come in. They had time they had their phone. They called mommy. Why couldn't they do that? These are engineers. They were supposed to solve problems. Do you want to hire people that can't solve a problem in the middle of a crisis? Look at this. Weak. 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 Running away and hiding is not, did it save his life? Yeah. But you juxtapose that with the juxtaposition of this with what happened in Bondi Beach. You take out the guy. You take out the perpetrator. You hunt him down. These students should have killed the individual. This student should have coordinated with other students, hunted down the perpetrator, and killed him. That's what they should have done. No, they're too worried about that. Oh, they might hurt them. Self-centered. Doesn't want to protect the herd. Hide in a bathroom. Bullshit, that's what it is.
it was terrifying, but thanks to her, I think thanks to her, I'm alive.
That's bullshit.
Well, Ref, thank you so much.
Hiding in a bathroom.
Glad you're-
He's alive because he was hiding in the bathroom in a different building. No. What about these students that are in the hallway in the same building that the perpetrator was in? No. That was hyperbole. What he just said. If he really believes it, he shouldn't even be in engineering. There should have been at least 3 or 4 males that had the balls, the testosterone, the instincts to be a sheepdog. What the hell is going on with these kids?
Okay, and of course, our thoughts with you and the entire community.
Yeah, thank you,
We
Rick.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right.
No. These students,
The new bearskin hoodie
they should have coordinated, hunted the guy down, hunted the perpetrator down and killed him. No, but they're a bunch of eggheads. They haven't coupled body and mind. Elite institution that should have tentacles to to what was working during the Roman Empire and the Greek Empire. No, we got the American Empire that's beta male now.
claims to be the most advanced waterproof tactical hoodie ever made.
Okay, now the Syrian issue. Let's play that. But before we do, let's do a commercial. It's really important to start realizing that our society is weak and we need to strengthen up. When you have 30% of the student body at elite schools claiming mental disability to game the system to get extra time on tests, when you have a student body that literally hides under the table when the going gets tough, you got a problem there. You got a real problem. All right. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the deodorants because you never know when you're going to be in an incident where you're going to be perspirating. All right. Get the peppermint, lavender, and tea tree or the citrus. This is for males and females. Take it every day. Use it as a daily deodorant, but it'll also help to improve your immune system and your endocrine system because it detoxifies your body. When you're detoxifying your body regularly, your body will perform better. Get a few bars for your household. It's for males and females. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the deodorants. They're dual purpose, and they're made from essential oils from the Himalayas. Very high quality ingredients. Get the vitamin C and magnesium. Boost up that immune system. Help with your skin. And also help with your brain function so you're not a retard from Brown University. And magnesium and zinc helps with brain function and boosts up that immune system. Stack them together. This is really important to do every day as an anti-aging protocol to boost up that immune system, but especially during the winter season. Because guess what? Things are floating around and a big part of the society is getting it. So you need to pay attention to K, you need to pay attention to razor throat, you need to pay attention to a lot of stuff. Boost the immune system. Now, take Myotrol. Build muscle. Be a sheepdog. Myotrol will help with the gene expression to build muscle and to maintain muscle. This is great if you're 40 years of age or older to maintain muscle and prevent atrophy. It will also help with the health of the mitochondria to boost up energy levels to be able to build and maintain muscle. You can also use this if you're an athlete, younger or older, to help build muscle. This stacks really well with gladiator barley. Do some resistance training, take the Myotrol every day, and guess what? You're going to be healthier. Make sure you do back muscles to improve your lymphatic flow, your venous return flow, and to improve the density of your vertebrae. And good night formula. By having good sleep regularly, you're slowing down the aging process. This has tryptophan, melatonin, GABA, and passion flower. This will help to consolidate memory, detoxify your central nervous system, and you'll be well rested when you wake up. This will help get into those 3 to 5 cycles of deep sleep and REM sleep that you need to slow down the aging process. Take this every day. So please go to my store, use discount 5, get $5 off any order. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. Be prepared. Boost up that immune system. This winter season can be problematic. Be prepared. All right? And build muscle so you're, so you don't act like a beta student.
Show your daughter how much you love her with this beautiful gift. It says, to my daughter, never forget that I love you forever.
And right now, I do want to get you to a story that we have been following very closely. We brought this to you as breaking news, and we are learning more here as President Trump says, quote, we will retaliate after 2 U.S. Army soldiers were killed during an ambush attack yesterday over in Syria. We also know an interpreter was killed and several other people wounded in that ambush attack. Here's a brief comment from President Trump as he was leaving the White House just yesterday.
So we warned the loss of 3 great patriots in Syria. You know how it happened in an ambush. We also have 3 wounded and they seem to be doing pretty well. So we warned the loss. These are 3 great people. And it's a terrible thing. And Syria, by the way, was fighting along with us. The new president of Syria is, as they told me, and I'm not surprised, he's devastated by what happened. This is an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we warn the Lord and we pray for them and their parents and their loved ones. Very, very sad. Yeah.
See, we got a president here that says we're going to be retaliating. That's called an alpha male. That's called you kill the enemy. All right? And maybe our students at our elite institutions, back in the day, like the 1940s and earlier, students actually had balls and they actually were willing to have self-sacrifice. Today's students don't do that. Everyone wants to be a tech bro. Everything's coddled. Very few people have that fortitude for self-sacrifice. What's wrong with these people now? A weak nation is coming around the corner called the American Empire because we have, quote, elite students that have low T and run when there's a problem. You engage, you kill the enemy.
Some very brief comments from President Trump all about the situation as it was unfolding yesterday. Of course, you heard that he was asked about the situation in general and will likely make even more comments today on Live Now from Fox, so we'll bring those to you in full. There on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see Mark Chandler. He is the Director of Government Relations over at Coastal Carolina University, and he is also a former senior intelligence defense official as well as an author. Joining us now live to talk much more about the situation in general. Thank you so much, Mark, for taking the time to be here with us today.
You're welcome, Josh. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
And first off, I want to start by asking your overall thoughts here as all of this information was developing. I mentioned you are a former senior defense intelligence official. Explain to me what's going through your mind as all of this is playing out and the details are developing there.
Well, one, it's a very fluid situation in times like this, Josh. So when we look at this, what we see that those forces were doing was actually part of the new U.S. strategy. It's a continued strategy, but it's kind of a new.
Well, he's
leader engagement. And when we talk about
Let me
that,
roll it
that's
back.
where we have U.S. forces and trying to partner with the Syrian forces. This patrol was on its way to a key, what we call a key leader engagement. And when we talk about that, that's where we have U.S. forces partnering with host nation forces. In this case, it was Syrian forces in Palmyra. So this patrol was going there when they were ambushed by this ISIS operative. I want to call him an operative because that's exactly what he was. You know, he not turned by ISIS, but actually ISIS is still strong in this area. So this is one of the threats that these forces face in a situation like that. I mean, they did kill the individual, but we lost 3 U.S. personnel and 3 were wounded and evacuated out. But that's part of what you see in an evolving strategy when we're trying to partner with a nation. And Syria still has a lot of problems of cohesiveness. So it's a very dangerous mission in a situation like this.
And I wanted to ask you, because as I mentioned, we've heard from President Trump as he was leaving the White House, and he was very clear, saying it several times that we will retaliate. What do you take from that? But also, I guess maybe more importantly, what are the concerns regarding potential escalation as a result?
Well, and one thing is we can retaliate, and we will, as the president said. We've got several methods that we can use. We can use airstrikes right after the attack, and I think earlier today we've had a lot of aircraft flying over the area. So we're putting a strong presence there. All we have to do now is really increase our intelligence collection efforts. You know, the Middle East has kind of slipped a little bit, and our priority in the focus since Israel-Hamas war and our attacks on Iran, you know, we kind of centered our focus elsewhere. This proves we need to kind of reprioritize it a little bit. So we've got to increase our intelligence collection there, especially to support engagements like this. And as Syria has entered in a new strategic relationship with the United States. So we'll start collecting intelligence. I understand that earlier today or late last night, there were some arrests made. So we're starting to kind of chip away at that network, and it's a human intensive operation, human intelligence. So we try to chip away at that network to really find out how deep this threat runs and dig further back into the ISIS threat that does remain rather strong inside Syria.
That was going to be my next question here. We know that ISIS has essentially taken responsibility for this attack. It was just hours afterward that we did hear about all of this. And I wanted to ask what kind of actors, so to speak, have the capabilities to carry out an attack like this? And also, I mean, is there any precedent for a situation like this?
Well, Josh, I'll break it down, the actors, into 3 categories. You have state actors like Iran and Syria, and they have conducted attack. You have what we call state-sponsored actors. And we saw about 100 attacks on U.S. forces over the last 4 years from Iranian proxy forces located in Syria and in Iraq. They would attack U.S. outposts in the region. And then you have what we call non-state actors. These are your terrorist organizations, such as ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who are both actually present inside Syria. So ISIS on its capability, this was ISIS. We can trace it to ISIS. I want your audience to understand, ISIS is relatively strong. We defeated them in 2019, but we didn't eliminate them. They have anywhere between 2,500 and 7,000 fighters still active. And in the last 11 months, since the Syrian regime of Assad fell, ISIS has started creeping back up. They've taken over some smaller villages. They conducted attacks against the Syrian forces. They conducted attacks against our allies, the Kurds, who actually, the Kurds are responsible in northeast Syria of holding about 10,000 of the worst ISIS prisoners from the war. So you have a lot of capability still within the region, and you need to put a strong counter-ISIS capability on that. This is a non-state actor. This is a terrorist attack. I don't think Iran is going to step back up yet based on what we did in June and what Israel's done, but I can't eliminate that threat completely.
What does this say overall about the security threats that do exist, not just in Syria in general, but maybe all across that region of the world and the world itself?
Well, the Middle East is a dangerous area, and it's a dangerous area, but it's an important area to our national security. We need a stable Middle East, but it's a cauldron of Islamic extremism. Some of the worst extremists are located in Syria and Iraq, and you look at throughout that region, kind of where this extremism has generated from in history. But you also have Iran as a destabilizing force in the area. So when you start to look at that, when you see the challenges that we have, we're actually focused on a strategic relationship with Syria at this time. There was an unprecedented visit of the Syrian president to Washington back in November. So why for that? We need to, one, eliminate Iran. We need to eliminate ISIS influence in the region, and we need to block Russia's access. So there's a lot of strategic importance to the Middle East, and we need a stable Middle East. It kind of seems counterintuitive that we put forces there to face the threat, but in the long run, it's better for the United States if we have a strategic if we have a strategic concern there. Now, the threat is real. I referenced about 100 attacks by the Iranian proxy forces out there. Back in 2019, after we defeated ISIS, they conducted a suicide attack in Manbij that killed 4 U.S. soldiers. So you have to look at that. The threat goes with the challenge that we have, but we just need to be more proactive. I like Israel's approach. They identify a threat, they're intelligence intensive, and then they attack it before they can attack. We're more reactive. I would say we need to take a more proactive intelligence collection effort and proactive defensive effort to strike first.
What do we need to be watching for here as all of this develops over the next several hours and days? What should folks out there be watching for in general?
Well, I think right now we need to look.
Did you know you could be entitled to a 5 or 6 figure payout if you suffered a serious injury at work, like a broken bone, torn tendon, or needed surgery? Yes.
Well, I think right now we need to look at the Syrian government's response. If they are serious in partnering with us, they need to step up and start to consolidate some capability that pushes back on ISIS. This is kind of a no man's land in the Palmyra area, but there are also other areas in Syria just like this. So they need to come to the table. We need to have a strong intelligence collection effort by the United States. You won't see that, but you'll see the outcome of that when we conduct some airstrikes. We need to uncover this network and start to attack it a little bit more deliberately like we did when ISIS was at its peak. So we'll start to work on that. Now, as much as I hate to say this, Josh, I have to bring this home a little bit. This is supposed to be a happy and joyous season. Hanukkah starts at sundown today in the United States. We saw what happened at Bondi Beach in Australia at their Hanukkah celebration. We have to be on alert. Christmas is in 11 days. New Year's is right after that. We have to be on alert. A year ago, there was the ISIS attack in New Orleans. So I have to implore us, even during this joyous season, this happy holiday season, that we at home need to be on alert. If we see something, if we suspect something, we have to say something. We have to be vigilant, even during this time of celebration.
Very true. Mark Chandler, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Anything we missed, anything you want to make sure to add here before I let you go?
No, Josh, I think you covered it very well. It's just, I know it's a challenge at this time for us to look external to our nation, but we do have strategic interest in this region. We just have to play out and realize that Syria has a long way to go before it becomes a cohesive nation. But it's something that we have to, for the security of the region and our allies in the region, kind of ensure that goes forward. So this is kind of maybe the beginning of a new push that we're going to have to make here in the Middle East.
All right, Mark Chandler, thank you again for being here with us today. We appreciate it as always.
All right,
Thank you very much.
We're gonna play.
What's going on between Donald Trump and Nicolas Maduro, the leader of Venezuela?
And right now,
Al Jazeera's take on.
It's the U.S. soldiers.
We're gonna play Al Jazeera's take on this, but before we do, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the clarity factor. This will get rid of that brain fog, allow you to have better connections with your neurons. Those dendritic connections will improve. Your memory will improve. Your thinking will be faster. You'll be able to concentrate on tasks. This is very powerful neurostack. Take it every day. Slow down that aging process. Improve your brain function. Resveratrol, soaks up free radicals, helps the health of the mitochondria. You'll have more energy, helps with youthful gene expression, gets rid of cells that are in senescence. This is a great way to slow down the aging process. Take it every day. I've been taking this for decades. This stacks really well with NAD+, ubiquinol, C60, clarity factor. Vitamin B complex, super important to take, especially if you're 40 years of age or older. The first 4 B vitamins are going to help with the electron transport chain. You're going to have more ATP. You're going to have more energy. You're going to have better cellular metabolism, and vitamin B12 helps to protect neurons. Super important if you're 40 years of age or older. And omega-3, this helps with your cardiovascular health. It'll bring down inflammation, help to reduce plaque formation. When you're bringing down inflammation and you're controlling your lipid profile by lowering your LDL and increasing your HDL levels, you're reducing the concentrations of oxidized LDL. If you have high concentrations of oxidized LDL, you get plaque. That's bad. You want to control that. Omega-3 will help with your cardiovascular health, but it will also help to reduce the stickiness of your red blood cells to prevent overclotting. So there's an added benefit. And do some cardio training, some resistance training, eating properly, drinking filtered water. These are all synergistic to slowing down the aging process and improving your cardiovascular health. So please go to my store, use discount 5, all caps, discount the number 5, you get $5 off. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. Get the omega-3, the vitamin B complex, the resveratrol, and the clarity factor. That's a pretty powerful stack. Neural stack with the clarity factor, slowing down the aging process and improving youthful gene expression with the resveratrol. Vitamin B complex will improve your cellular metabolism and protect neurons. And the omega-3 is going to help with your cardiovascular health. That's a powerful stack right there. Please go to my store, take my advice, do this on a regular basis, and slow down the aging process.
Have been killed in Syria's central city of Palmyra. The Pentagon says the American-led coalition fighting ISIL was carrying out counter-terrorism operations. Now, Syria's Interior Ministry, though, says the attacker had no rank within the security forces, and an investigation is underway to determine if he was linked to ISIL. President Donald Trump, though, has blamed the attack on ISIL and warned the US will retaliate if its forces are attacked again.
Syria, by the way, was fighting along with the president, the new president of Syria is, as they told me, and I'm not surprised, he's devastated by what happened. This is an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we want the Lord to the president and their parents and their loved ones. Very, very sad.
Joining us from Erbil in Iraq is Miles Kaggins. He is a retired US Army colonel and former spokesperson for the coalition to defeat ISIS in Iraq and Syria, and also a senior non-resident fellow at the New Lines Institute. Thank you for speaking to us here at Al Jazeera. Now, we are getting conflicting messages, as we just heard there. US on the one hand saying it believes that this is an ISIL attack, while Syria using a more cautious language, if you like, saying that an investigation is taking place. What are your immediate thoughts with, all of your experience and having been there yourself?
Good evening, Sarah. This is a tragic and devastating attack against these U.S. soldiers in southern Syria in the Bitchute Desert. Now, there are some conflicting messages, but in the most recent messages from the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center leader, Mr. Joe Kent, he has indicated that this attack was an insider attack, what we often would call a green on blue attack. And in the most recent statement from Ambassador Tom Barrack, who is the special envoy to Syria, he has backed away from language attributing this attack to ISIS. So what's next? We have seen the U.S. Air Force conducting a show of force by dropping flares around the city of Palmyra. But in reality, this attack is over. The attacker has been killed, and we must move to the next steps.
Right, and just in terms of the sort of language that we were hearing from Trump there. Now, we've also heard this from his Secretary of Defense, responding rather with a sort of threatening language. I'll just read out what Pete Hegseth said. He said, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you'll spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you. Now, is it likely to respond, do you think, the US in any way, given what seems to be a good relationship so far between Trump and the Syrian leader Ahmad al-Sharaa, at least for now, the kind of relationship that they are having at the moment?
President Trump and President Sharaa do have a new but strong relationship built on admiration for each other. And CENTCOM has been successfully partnering with the new Syrian transitional government for some counter-ISIS operations in northwestern Syria and in the southern part in the Badia Desert. They have recently found more than 12 weapons caches in the desert area. And it is important that we remember the United States has been in Syria since 2014. And the United States has had a strong partner from the Syrian Democratic Forces since that time. And together, the Syrian Democratic Forces, backed by the international coalition, defeated ISIS and continue to hold more than 10,000 ISIS detainees.
So just, Miles, I just wanted to ask you specifically about the location of the attack, because it did take place in Palmyra, that's in central Syria. Can you perhaps give us an idea of why the US forces are there? What are they doing exactly? And that's, of course, despite the war ending and also Bashar al-Assad being ousted.
The Americans continue to have some small bases in the northeast of Syria. This is an area that is east of the Euphrates River. And in the south, there is the Antanef garrison, where there are a few hundred U.S. troops. It is likely that as they now have a new partnership with the Syrian Transitional Government Ministry of Defense, they were going out to visit those Syrian Transitional Government bases or having some meetings with local leaders in the area as the U.S. is wanting to expand its presence and deepen its partnership, its new partnership with President al-Shaara's security forces.
All right, thank you very much for speaking to us, Miles Kaggins there.
Okay.
Don't miss out.
Now, are we going to have lots of incursion in the Middle East as we're decoupling from the Middle East and Europe and moving our concentrations in South America and eventually building up that war plan in the Pacific? Are we going to be decoupling from the Middle East? Yeah, of course. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to do some tactical strikes against ISIS. It's there's nothing wrong with that. America First policy or this whole isolationist policy doesn't mean that we don't do tactical strikes in the Middle East. And you know what? There needs to be retribution. They killed our American soldiers. There needs to be hellfire that comes out from the sky and knocks out some installations or knocks out some ISIS groups. But overall policy is to decouple. The focus, the pivot to our hemisphere, the Western Hemisphere, and to focus on the Pacific. All right, let's listen into Fox News. This is an ex-ATF agent. It says brown shooter operates like a robot. All right, that's interesting. Let's listen in here. Oh, before we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the Boomer Boost. This targets multiple systems. This will help with your cellular metabolism. It'll rev your metabolism up. You'll have more energy. You'll have a steady burn of energy throughout the whole day, no spiking. You'll feel the effects of this within 72 hours. But if you take this on a regular basis, you're going to improve your brain function. You're going to be able to concentrate better. You'll be able to sleep better. You'll be consolidating memory. And over time, you're going to be thinking better and having better memory recall. In addition, this helps with your cardiovascular health and helps with musculature. Slow down the aging process. It's a very comprehensive compound profile shown on the screen here. You can read the label on my website. Take this every day. This is a month's supply. This is very important. And you can stack this with gladiator barley or heirloom barley. And also the larger protocol that I have to slow down the aging process and to boost up your immune system is the following. Taking a probiotic and a multivitamin is the foundation. The first pillar is taking the Max 30 Fiber Cleanse to boost up the immune system. Second pillar, C60 to soak up free radicals. Third pillar, turmeric, ashwagandha, and lignans to boost up that immune system by bringing down inflammation. And the Boomer Boost to rev up the metabolism and your energy levels. But you get added benefits. And so this works in a synergistic way, and you're slowing down the aging process radically. Take my advice. It works. I'm in my 50s. All right. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Be a sheepdog. Get the Boomer Boost. And by the way, that foundation I was talking about with the protocol, the probiotic, and the multivitamin. The multivitamin is easy to digest, and you have the multivitamins that you need for proper enzymatic activity, so your cells perform properly and your tissues perform properly. Taking a probiotic will help, a good probiotic, which this is. This is a powdered version. I also have the Veggie Cat version. Take it every day. And that will improve your gut biome, improve your nutrient absorption, your metabolism will improve, your brain function will improve, even your immune system at the gut level will improve. Please go to my store, get the probiotic and the multivitamin. It's easy to digest. Take them together, right? And you can stack it with the Boomer Boost. That's a very powerful stack. But the full protocol is to take the probiotic, the multivitamin, Max 30 Fiber Cleanse, C60, turmeric, ashwagandha, and lignans, and the Boomer Boost. And that's what I call the core. The core, and you can build off of that if you have the money. But the thing is use discount 5. You get save $5. And if you spend $100 or more, I do give you a free gift until supplies last. So I want to get these products in your hands, slow down the aging process, boost up the immune system. It works. It's something I do every day. All right, let's listen into Fox.
Or injured after a shooting yesterday at Brown University in Rhode Island.
Officials say that the suspect is a male dressed in all black who left the scene on foot through a door on Hope Street. And a shelter in place has been just lifted for the entire Brown campus. And the AP is reporting that a person of interest is in custody now.
Former ATF Special Agent Bernard Zickmore joins us now. Bernard, thank you for getting up. What do you make of this situation? We're just getting this news that the shelter in place has been lifted. AP reporting someone's in custody, but clearly the police investigation is very active.
You know, it's an incredibly challenging tactical and investigative problem for all the law enforcement and community involved here, because essentially there's a lot of things that can't begin until the shooting stops. And until you have somebody in custody that you can confirm is the cause of this, the shooting hasn't stopped, theoretically. And so their number one priority is to make sure that they're not going to have a re-engagement, that there are other participants in the shooting. And so, you know, a lot of resources that would be used investigatively are going to be committed to that. Resources have been coming in throughout the night. They're leaning into a lot of technology right now, both for finding the person responsible so they can ensure the safety of the community, and secondly, to get answers as to what's going on. And of course, all at the same time, the management of, 10 plus people, critically injured, people fighting for their lives, the parents and friends and family that are coming into the area to be managed is all critically challenging and number one priority. A lot of resources are going for this. They're getting answers. They have more than they can reveal right now, but it's progressing.
It's interesting that that we don't have more video circulating right now, but obviously authorities picked out that one short clip of the man that they say is a person of at least
a person of interest walking away. I assume that there's more to it than just what we're seeing right there that makes them think that that is the person of interest that they want to talk to.
Yeah, I'm confident they have much more video. Additionally, they will lean into things like AI and geo-tracking to get potential pathways, behaviors, and some confirmation as to if they're looking at different video evidence that shows it being the same person in the same locations. And they can tie rather quickly now, contemporarily, they can tie together events tied to victims and where shootings were, where other evidence was left, say like shell casings, to positions of video. And so it gives them a lot of information. Of course, it takes people and officers to respond to the things that are developing here, but they're working on it. You would have this broken down into components. The component is the search, and the component is the investigation.
You live in New York.
And the search component is also largely looking for, again, they have to determine if is there more than one person. It's going to give them relief, because if they have somebody that's a person of interest that develops into being the person responsible, then they can let off the gas when it comes to this aspect of it and concentrate on investigation and crime management and victim management, because obviously you have a lockdown situation in the area, and then the broader community's at risk too if somebody's fleeing from committing such a horrendous act like this.
Bernard, we love having a special agent ATF person here because you see things that we don't see. I see that footage and I see this young man walking rather calmly. It's kind of shocking to me. When you see that video, what do you see?
It's you want to be reluctant on deriving, for example, motive and intent from such small partial pieces of potential evidence. But a lot of things, if you look at the Charlie Kirk assassination, for example, the video of the suspect that was walking with a limp and the things that were attributed to potentially that. But make no mistake, somebody that goes in and makes a decision to take human life on a mass scale or any scale, it's really operating on unconscious. And so the normal things that we're expecting from a human being doesn't exist. That's why in contemporary active shooter training, we tell people, do not beg for your life. This person looks like a human being. They're not necessarily scary looking, but they are a robot. They have no conscience. They have no empathy. They don't care what your situation is. They're there to take life. Yeah. And so trying to attribute a human behavior in a video will usually not provide any picture.
If you're in a crowd, especially if there's hundreds of people and there's a shooter, you don't run, because the power of the masses is much more than the number of bullets that this guy has. Now, does that mean that there won't be carnage? Yes, of course there'll be carnage, but you're reducing carnage. You're reducing carnage by engaging and fighting, by neutralizing the individual, not running away. Now, what happened at Brown? 3 or 4 students in the engineering building should have banded together and hunted the guy down and killed him. That's what they should have done. They hid. Why? Because they're a bunch of beta males.
As to what the intent or the person is, because when you're encountering somebody that does this, they're soulless essentially at the time, and maybe beyond something that in the human realm we have a very difficult ability to relate to anybody that would do such a thing, regardless of motive and intent. And there's the argument too that whether it's ideological or professed psychological, they're really the same person.
So I can't let you go without you answering this question. If you don't beg for your life, what do you tell people to do?
You run, hide, and fight. You take whatever opportunity you have to escape, fight, kill the person who's there. You have no choice. You have to act. And of course, the difficulty with this is the normal human.
If you're all by yourself, it's probably better to hide. If you're with a group of people, you go down, you assess the situation, you coordinate, and then you engage. You don't hide. And that's the problem that happened at Brown. Compare it with what happened at Bondi Beach, where the perpetrator was neutralized by a bystander, and the situation de-escalated radically. Don't hide. Don't hide. You engage. I want citizens. I want America to be peaceful and prosperous. But I know this for a fact: if you don't merge body and mind, where you have athletics and intellectual prowess, you don't have a fully functioning human being. If you're just an egghead, you got a problem. If you're just a jock, you got a problem. You need to have body and mind. Then you have a more productive society. But it's not just that, you need to have the ethics. And that ethics can be built upon the 3 pillars: God, country, and family. So when you have God, country, and family, and you merge body and mind, you have a more well-rounded individual that will have a more productive society. We need sheepdogs. We didn't have any sheepdogs at Brown University. They all hid. They all hid. And we went into detail with one student. They had to run out of the building, knowing that the shooter was there, knowing that there were hundreds of students there, knowing that he could have coordinated, hid, ran away, crossed the street, called his mommy, hid in another building with his friend in the bathroom. Could have used the phone to coordinate with students. Could have used the phone as a weapon. No. Not even an engineer could figure that out. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. You gotta fight. You gotta put on that fighting spirit. You gotta protect the herd. Because when you do that, less of these incidences will take place.
The possible gunfires if we saw it. We have that in us because it's physiologically overwhelming. And contemporary teaching is just to give ourselves a pathway to act the best we can. And even in those circumstances, we may not have an opportunity.
Run, hide, or fight. Great insight as always. Thank you, Bernard Zapel.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Tillman.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interview.
If you're by yourself, run or hide. If you're with a group of people, duck down, assess the situation, create a strategic plan with group around you, and neutralize the individual. That's what needs to be done. All right, let's play The Maduro is Feeling Immense Pressure.
Thanks so much, Julian. I want to bring in former CIA guy. His name is Mike Baker, frequently on this program, and a welcome guest indeed. Especially today, Mike Baker. How long do you think Maduro has to last?
Well, that's the big question. Right now in Washington, D.C. You know what? I don't know. It's an easy and honest answer. But look, there's enormous pressure on him from different directions, right? And the scenarios that have been gamed out in Washington are either there's an internal change, meaning Maduro's advisors and others force him out because they said enough is enough. There is a decision perhaps by Maduro himself that says, okay, if I can get the right deal, meaning basically amnesty for himself, his family, and some close advisors, then he'll be on his way. Or there is direct military intervention by the U.S. Those are the 3 likely scenarios that we're dealing with. But Maduro is feeling enormous pressure. He has surrounded himself, interestingly. There's a lot of players in this. It's not just the U.S. and Venezuela. Cuba has a big stake in this. And Maduro has called on the Cubans, their intel personnel and military, to come in and act basically as his closest protection. Because he's gotten to the point now where he's not sure he can trust his own people.
But if he's still in power in the early part of next year, that will be a defeat for the United States and a defeat for President Trump. Something has to happen, and quickly. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. I think you're right, Stuart. I think that, if this drags on indefinitely, I think the American public at some point is going to say, what are we doing? Okay, sure, we're targeting narco traffickers. We're taking out all these boats. We've killed over 80 individuals. Can we get more clarity on that, perhaps? And then there's going to be all the legal questions, right? And then there's the issue of what do we do with? It was a good question from the reporter asking President Trump, what are you going to do with this tanker? Right? How does this work going forward? That was a sanctioned tanker, so in a sense it was, and it was carrying oil, that keeps Maduro's regime in office. And nobody should mistake this and think Maduro is somehow the victim here, right? He has victimized Venezuela and his predecessor Chavez before that. They've turned what was once the breadbasket of that region into a basket case. Okay. So, I think, but you're right, something needs to happen because, look, also we're coming up on the midterm elections, right? Don't forget that.
Yeah. It can't drag on till November of next year. Just can't do that. I've got one more for you, Mike. President Trump says some European leaders are calling for another meeting to work out a ceasefire in Ukraine. Trump hasn't made a decision about attending. But Mike, do you see any value to these endless meetings? They are indeed endless. Nothing seems to come out of them. Any value?
Right. No, I don't think there's I'm very cynical on this, Stuart. I don't think there's much value here. The only player that matters in this right now is Putin. It's his invasion. It's his war. He hasn't shown any interest in finding an off-ramp for this war that's going on 4 years long. He's got over 1 million casualties, and he's still willing to stay in the fight because slowly and at a great cost, he's still gaining ground. So I think he's looking at one or the other option. He's looking at either, hey, I can continue this fight. I don't care. I'm happy to do it. Or he's looking at, I'm going to wait till President Trump pressures somehow Zelensky into accepting a peace plan that basically meets Putin's demands, which haven't changed over the past few years.
That's right.
And so you can get a peace plan. You can get a peace deal. And I know the White House is desperate to get a peace deal and say, look, we got a peace deal. And you can do that if you give Putin what he wants.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's going to be the end result here.
Yeah, I agree with it. Mike Baker, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.
Are you wearing 7 layers and still freezing your man nipples? You need the new 340 GSM military grade bearskin hoodie to get comfortable in the wild.
All right. Let's take a look at another set of videos here. All right, let's listen into Fox about Australia's mass shooting. But before we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the collagen. This is a multi-purpose supplement, very high quality, that will help with your skin, your nails, your hair, your musculature, your joint health, your cartilage, and your bone density. Take it every day. This is a month's supply. Heirloom barley will help to bring down inflammation, detoxify your body, and soak up free radicals. When you do that, you're improving your cardiovascular system, your brain function, and also your immune system and endocrine system. For your brain function, by keeping inflammation down and soaking up free radicals and detoxifying your body, you're reducing stress on the neurons so the neuron is healthier. And detoxifying your body regularly is super important. And you can do that with zeolite. You can stack it with the heirloom barley. Zeolite, you take 3 small drops underneath your tongue, drink the filtered water, and it'll bind to heavy metals, toxins, and chemicals. It'll allow you to urinate them out within 6 to 8 hours. Do this every day, and you'll improve your immune system and your endocrine system. Make sure you drink it with filtered water and stay away from processed foods.
All right, we have a witness to the tragic shooting in Australia whose brother was working security and also stayed back to help resuscitate survivors. Tanya Cohen joining us now. Tanya, what can you tell us about what you saw and what your brother was doing?
So I'm an American citizen. I'm in Australia visiting my family who live in Bondi.
and my brother was volunteering and working at security at the Hanukkah festival on Bondi Beach. I arrived around 6:45 p.m. I was running a bit late. And as soon as I arrived, we heard pop, 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 pop. We at first thought it was fireworks, so we did not react. People around us did not react. And then the popping did not stop. It was continuous. And then people started to panic, and we started to see hundreds of people running around, not sure where the sound was coming from. Unsure, again, if it was fireworks or if it was shooting bullets. And then when it did not stop, we all then realized it was an active shooter, and pandemonium broke out, and hundreds of people were running across a busy road where cars were still moving towards safety. The restaurants nearby, people were jumping under the tables and jumping to get shelter. And this shooting seemed to go on for, I would say, around 8 or 9 minutes. It did not stop. And it was continuous.
So when you all fled from the beach and went across the busy road into the restaurants and people were hiding underneath tables there, were you still being fired on across the street?
Yes, it went on again for about 8 or 9 minutes. So we immediately realized about 2 or 3 minutes in, when people started to panic and run, and then joined in to that. But the shooting just continued, and we were quite near where that bridge was, but the shooter at that time was aimed towards the festival, not towards the pedestrians on the road. So thank goodness we were not in the sight of the shooter, but we were right by them. So based on what you just said right now, you can confirm that this was indeed, as the government has said, a targeted shooting. This was a targeted terrorist attack on the Jewish community of Sydney at a Hanukkah festival where over 1,000 people were gathered to celebrate a Jewish holiday, the Festival of Lights. There were children there, there were babies there, there were families there, and there were rabbis there, one of which is now deceased.
And just lastly, Tanya, in the time we have, a few seconds, but your brother was also trying to help to resuscitate people.
That is correct. My brother was volunteering and doing security, and he joined in to help resuscitate victims, and is actually still on the scene helping out authorities with the efforts to ensure people's safety on the ground.
God bless you, Tanya. God bless your family and everybody you're with there.
Yeah, and thank you to your brother for what he did as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Here's a classic example. Let's see. Mother of Brown student says son barricaded himself for 7 hours. Why her son? Well, let's listen to the video. But I suspect that we got a beta male here.
Again, unwrap joy this season with handcrafted cakes perfect for any celebration. From strawberry soft cream to blueberry chiffon and traditional favorites to make your holidays even sweeter. Stop in today or order online at parisbaguette.com.
Dr. Amirsi, let's start with how's your son Jaden doing? Is he safe?
My son is finally safe, yes. They were barricaded for 7 hours in the playroom with 13 of his friends and classmates. But
Dr. Amirsi. Okay? I better hear from this video that her son was a sheepdog. But let's see if she does say that, because I have a feeling that he was a beta male. Because he's been coddled by his fucking mother. Now let's see what happens here. Did he just protect himself, or did he try to help people? Well, let's see what happens.
they were finally released by the police at around 11:30 last night. So he's safe.
And tell us where Jaden was yesterday when this shooting happened, and how did he respond?
I was at home. I live in California, and at around 4:15, 4:20, I received a phone call from my son saying, "I love you, and there's an active shooter on campus, and I'll call you when I can." It's the worst phone call you can ever get from this.
Why couldn't he have said, "Oh, by the way, Mom, I'm coordinating with other students, male students, and we're going to hunt down the person in our building that's trying to kill us"? No, 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 no. This is a classic example. This is what I mean by the coddled mother, the coddling mother of a student that ends up being a beta male.
You just think you're in a living nightmare. And then we didn't hear back from him for another 10.
All right? She just cares about her son's life. There is something special about an individual or individuals that do the right thing, that take risks to protect the herd. Even if he worked with other students to hunt down, subdue that individual. Now, I don't know if this individual was in the building or not. Maybe he was in a different building. But if he was in one of those buildings, if he knew that the shooter was in his building, he should have coordinated with other students to hunt him down. And perhaps he would have been killed. Perhaps her son would have been killed while he was actively trying to subdue the shooter. That's virtue. That's doing the right thing to protect other citizens, to protect other students. What's better to go down? To be killed by hiding, or to be killed by trying to subdue the actual shooter? Which one has more virtue? Someone that's kowtowing to the situation, or actually trying to save people? Now, I come from the perspective that you engage the situation. You don't hide. You don't hide. This is a mother that only cared about her son. Why didn't her son been given the proper upbringing to have virtue, that if you are in a situation, you rise up to the occasion and be a hero? You may die, but you do it. What's so special about her son where he didn't have the fortitude to do that his life was more special and that he had to hide? This is the problem that I'm having with these students. These students do not have the fortitude to go and into the fire. They run away from the fire. And so you can apply this to just normal corporate America. These are people that aren't willing to take risks. These are people that are coddled. They're not willing to, put in the effort. They're protecting themselves. They don't protect the herd. Where's the glory? Where's the glory in that? Where's the glory in hiding under your desk? I understand that she's a mother and she's concerned about her child. But I'll tell you what, if a child was killed by trying to save other students, and a parent had to say that on a show like ABC, that's a hero. That's virtue. Instead, you have a lot of parents saying, my son, he survived the incident because he hid under a desk.
Minutes. He was initially outside. It's finals week, so all the students were on campus studying in their groups at the library and at the main campus. And he was outside getting some food, going back to the study room where he was with his friends. And he saw police cars whizzing by. And then he heard students running and saying, "Run, there's an active shooter." So they quickly ran back to where all their other friends were and started frantically trying to ascertain information. And then during that time, I received the first phone call from him saying that there's an active shooter on campus, Mom, and I love you so much.
And mass shootings seem to have become so common in this country. How does it feel as a parent, especially when you're on the other side of the country, when your child has been impacted?
What's the better question is that how does it feel to have a student body that your son is a part of that wasn't willing to rise up and fight?
It's a nightmare. You can't describe it to anybody. To have 7 hours where you don't know anything, there's no person that's been apprehended. Your child and his friends are in a closet, in a supply room, barricaded with their lights off. He's texting us because they've decided as a group that it's not safe to use their phones in case somebody can hear them. They're trying to quiet one of the girls who's having a panic attack so she's not making noise in case the shooter's outside. He's texting us nonstop, telling us how much he loves his father and I, and that, Mom, this isn't.
Why couldn't they have used the text messages? Usually these students have WhatsApp chat rooms and stuff. Why couldn't they have coordinated? Why they couldn't have said, which building is he in? What's happening? Okay. Who's in that building that can be coordinated to help subdue the shooter? See, they didn't use the technology to coordinate. They used the technology to hide. They used the technology to tell Mom, I love you. Really? Now, teleport back to, let's say, Sparta or a Roman soldier. Do you think that in that situation that the Roman soldiers or the ethos of that society would have behaved like this? They would hunt down the perpetrator and killed him. No, they don't do that. So the son's not a hero. Actually, the son is a coward. Because why couldn't you use the technology to coordinate, find out what building it's in, be a sheepdog, and neutralize the individual? Why? Her son is more important than the people that stormed Normandy? Is her son more important than the ones that fought in the revolution? Is her son more important? No. There's something about virtue there's something about the virtueness of being a person that is a sheepdog. There's a hero-esque element to this. Hiding is not being a hero. Standing into the breach of something, taking risks that may affect your life to protect others is the right thing to do. Her son didn't do that. Now, most likely, he wasn't in the same building. But that other guy that we played earlier was, and he ran across the street and called Mommy and hid in a bathroom with his friend. And he knew the building that the guy was in. Why couldn't he have coordinated people inside the building or even outside the building? He's an engineer. So smart but dumb.
The drill, this is real, I love you so much. And they were frantic, and as parents, we were beside ourselves. It's a nightmare. One of his roommates, their parents live in England, and they had
Dr. Amirsai and her son, she raised a beta male. She raised a person that wasn't willing to protect the herd. Amazing, amazing. This is elite as institutions. Not that long ago, elite institutions were producing cadets for the military. He doesn't look like a cadet for the military.
Contact from their son for over 2 hours. So she's frantically messaging and calling me, asking me if her son is with my son. And there was no known whereabouts of him for about 2 hours. So this poor mother and every parent like myself is just in shock and in disbelief that what we become numb to and desensitized to, because this is so commonplace now, is now our reality for our children to go through this.
How often were you able to stay in touch with Jaden during?
She's a victim. It's our children are being affected by this. If you have a son in this situation, and they had the means, if they were in the building and they had the means to coordinate with other students to subdue the shooter, the parents should be telling that student, you be a hero, even if you come back in a body bag, because you're protecting the herd, because you're helping people. You take risks. And that's the reason, that's the big difference between her upbringing of her son and the greatest generation. I'll tell you, these people, they're weak. They are weak. These students that are coming out of school today are weak. They're weak in their with mental capacity, and they're weak with physical capacity. And when a situation to protect the herd happens, they fail. They fail. They fail miserably. That's not virtue. Where's the virtue in this? Where's the hero? Where is, you may not win. You may not come back alive, but you protected the herd. Why doesn't she instill that in her son? Because her son is far more important than anybody else, even though he's a shithead. And this is the same goddamn fucking reason why our constitutional freedoms were eroded right after 9/11, because of people like her bought into the bullshit right after 9/11 and allowed the Patriot Act to be passed. Because it's better to be safe, according to her stupid mentality, than to have constitutional freedoms. Your government isn't going to protect you. You got to be the sheepdog. She's part of the problem.
And when were you finally able to breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that it was over and he was safe?
I feel like I'm still not going to feel a sigh of relief until he flies home today from Brown University. We're flying him back today, and he'll be home. And when I see him and I can hold him and hug him, I think that's when I'll feel a little bit of relief until he's back home.
Yeah, and she should tell him, you should have been a hero. You should have coordinated. You should have been able to subdue that individual if you were in the same building. I don't think he was in the same building. But if something like this happens again, and you have the means to neutralize the individual, you neutralize, even if it means the loss of your life. Because you're protecting people. That's what she should instill. Instead, all she fucking cares about is herself.
I don't feel settled. This is really true for everyone.
You tell us that Brown was Jaden's dream school. He's now in his third year there, but he's all the way across the country from you. I know he's making his way to California, but will it be hard on?
Dream school. Bunch of beta males.
he eventually returns to classes?
I was telling his father that I want him to we are just purchasing a one-way ticket and I want to wrap him up and just keep him at home with me. I feel like.
See, I just want to
only
wrap him up at home and just keep him in, maybe, you know, because she coddled the kid. She coddled the kid. She had the means to make sure he went to the right, you know, the right schools, had the means to prep the individual to go to an Ivy League school, but didn't create an individual that had virtue, didn't create an individual that was a hero. See, this is the point I'm making. She's just spilling it out on ABC News. I just want to protect him. This is the problem right here. This is the problem with America. This kind of bullshit. Her son shouldn't be serving in the military? Why? Why didn't her son serve in the military? Why? Tell me. Tell me why. Tell me what did her family deserve to even have the opportunity to have their kid go to Brown? Coddled. Coddled. And this is the problem. Got a beta male here, brought to you by a bunch of parents that are coddling their kid. The same soccer moms that were willing to sell your constitutional freedoms right after 9/11. This is the same kind of person. This is the same profile person that said safety over the Constitution. Dr. Amirsai. Fuck.
To think for hours that something can happen to him is horrible. And for me, I feel like so relieved that he's able to come home. And I was one.
And she could have said, if he had the means to subdue the perpetrator, that she would have been proud. I don't hear that. I don't hear that at all. Now, I don't think he had an opportunity to do that. The other guy did, that we played. He didn't. He ran. I don't think he was in the building that the shooter was in. But I want to hear a parent that said, I created a child that was instilled certain virtues, and that was to take risks and to help people and to protect the herd, to be a sheepdog. No, you don't hear that. You don't hear that from these students. These students are from the parents. You don't hear that at all. Very, very rare. That's the problem. Right there is the problem with America and its elite institutions. This person right here. This person right here. They coddled their kids, and you don't have sheepdogs.
Many parents who got phone calls from their children, but I think about the parents that weren't able to get phone calls, the mothers who are getting very different phone calls from the school about their students, similar to my son, who were killed or critically injured. And my heart goes out to those parents because this could be any one of our children, and these are our children.
Yeah, but none of the children, none of the kids actually stood up and fought. Meanwhile, in Bondi Beach, you had individuals that actually neutralized the perpetrator and saved lives. We have a student body at the elite institutions that are weak,
Difficult time. We're glad your son is safe. Dr. Shamsa Amirsi, thank you.
None of
If
them,
you or a loved one were at Northwell Sleep Center or STARS Rehabilitation,
none of them have we heard that were heroes. None of them. We haven't heard any stories about a hero. Where's the hero? Heroes die too, you know. They don't just survive all the time. We were the heroes. You had a lot of people just, you know, protecting themselves, listening to the authorities, you know, just stayed sheltered in place and blah, blah, blah. But if you were a student in that building and you were a male and you didn't coordinate with other males to hunt down that guy and kill him, then you're part of the problem. But we dive in. Why are they like that? And you have parents. Oh, I just want to bring the kid home, one-way ticket, you know, and I just want to just coddle them. We're just going to protect them. I would have rather had a child that did the right thing and saved people and die than hide and live. Meanwhile, she has a nice life after you have millions of soldiers over the generations that fought in multiple theaters to die for our constitutional freedoms. And she didn't have the wherewithal or the capacity to pay homage to that sacrifice and instill virtue in her child. So you want to have virtue, you want to build a better society where you take risks and you are a sheepdog. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Gladiator Barley. Why? It detoxifies. It brings down inflammation, soaks up free radicals, slows down the aging process, helps your immune system, helps your endocrine system. By bringing down inflammation at the vascular level, you're reducing cardiovascular disease. By bringing down inflammation at the cerebral level, you're helping the health of your neurons, and it will help to build muscle. So when you're in a situation like this, you take some of the lessons learned from the Romans and the Greeks and go, you harm me, I'm going to hunt you down. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. All right. Let's listen into MS Now.
And Rob, I want to get back to the situation that we're seeing unfold in Bondi Beach. If you can give our viewers a little bit of background on what has played out here. We know that there were at least 11 people that were killed by a gunman who targeted a Jewish celebration. The rise of anti-Semitism around the country is something that we talk about often on this show, but it also is a global problem. In this kind of environment, I mean, how do police even prevent something like this in a country where
they can't prevent it?
Gun laws in the world, people on a beach who have been targeted indiscriminately, and with police now finding what they believe to be
Bondi Beach, you had a mass casualty situation, but you had individuals that came in, took risks, and saved lives. Oh, by the way, they were Jewish.
Improvised explosive devices. Can you talk a little bit about what law enforcement is dealing with on the ground there right now?
Yeah, so in an event like this, unfortunately, sometimes you have to have an event to figure out what you missed, how you missed it, how they got weapons, how they got the chemicals to manufacture these IEDs. Was it internal, as in the cell that did this? Because again, one was killed, one's in custody. They talk about possibly the third, but I think that's just to keep the investigation open so they don't close their mind to maybe someone else. But were they connected to anyone? Was it internal, or was there some external to Australia, maybe even just influence or pushing an idea forward what was their connection to external factors in this. They're going to look at, again, I don't want to say what they missed, but there may have been pieces of this puzzle that exposed themselves that they just didn't connect to it, because again, anytime the first time something happens, it's really hard to piece that together. If you look at 9/11, there's all kinds of rumors about a plane and things like that, but no one's ever done that before. So putting it together and saying, hey, this is what's going to happen is really tough. Now that they have the information, they can start going back looking at it. They're part of the Five Eyes, so 5 nations that share intelligence: New Zealand, Australia, UK, Canada, and the US. Their intelligence people, I guarantee, were brought in last night. And what they're looking for now is something that they may have seen, some type of, maybe even a code word, something that connects it to this, to see if this is a global type event. Was it influenced globally, or now was this maybe the first day of Hanukkah and we're looking at something else in another nation on the second day or third day? You have to start looking at that. Or could this be incentive for someone else that's thinking about it? As you talked about, the anti-Semitism, it went up 4-fold in Australia alone, and globally it's huge. I think it's in retaliation to some of the events after October 7th, the terrorist attack, and what Israel did to defend itself. I think that's brought that globally now, and we're looking at it here in the U.S. And there's, I think, a big thing in the U.S. now. You're going to start seeing now, especially with Hanukkah and this event, the security around the Jewish community has to go up in prevention of something random, even though it's connected to this only by inspiration.
Police Chief Major Christopher Wray, the former FBI director, in I think it was 2020, talked about the salad bar metaphor. It was a metaphor that he used when asking about the ideologies that folks use, whether it's terrorist attacks or these mass shootings. And it's that basically the beliefs that they hold are not very clear, right? And they're not always as in a box as, and makes it very difficult for investigators to figure out why folks are doing the things that they're doing, where that's coming from, how that's changing. I'm curious, as someone who's been in law enforcement for a very long time, what you think about the change in that over the years?
Well, the salad bar really refers to the internet, social media, where you can get whatever you want. If you have a particular belief, you can find somebody else that has that belief. If you have an interest in a particular topic, you can do deep dives on that topic, and you can be radicalized in any number of ways. And this is the difference between what law enforcement has to deal with today and what we had to deal with 40 plus years ago when I started as a police officer. There's just no limit to the radicalization that can occur all over social media, all over the internet. So this is what Director Wray was talking about with that salad bar. It's just, you can go in any direction and you'll find information, you'll find people that have like views. I would say that there is now video that's been released from Bondi Beach that shows a citizen disarming one of the shooters. Just compelling video. There's additional video of the other shooter actually continuing to take shots from this looks like a pedestrian bridge, and it's just it's just chilling to watch these individuals who.
The person that subdued one of the shooters in the Bondi incident is a hero. He could have died. He could have died, but he would have been a hero either way, because he took risks to try to save lives. Why the fuck didn't any of those students in the engineering building do the same fucking thing? Why? Why? I want to know why. Why is that? And it's not so much the student's fault. It's the fault of the parents and the way they raised them.
clearly had terrorist motives to attack the Jewish community on the first day of Hanukkah. And as Rob said, one just hopes that this is not going to be something that's the beginning of a pattern that has been planned out over some period of time. We hope that this was just an isolated incident that the police were able to stop fairly soon, but not before you had extensive loss of life. And it's just as a law enforcement professional, you worry about is there some sort of escalation? Is there some sort of plan? Is this something that is just going to continue to grow? Because it has grown slowly over.
I mean, the Tom Clancy novel. What was his name? That was from Brown, the key player. Is it Ryan? Dr. Ryan? He was from Brown, supposedly. All right? And he ends up, saving the planet, all right? From the Russians. A lot has happened at Brown since then.
Years.
Jack Ryan.
Incidents like we had at Brown, like we had.
So the Jack Ryan series from Clancy, all right? He's from Brown. He gets, at least the series that was on I think Amazon Prime. I think in the movies he went to London School of Economics, but I'm not sure what his undergrad was in. His graduate studies was at London School of Economics. But Jack Ryan saves the planet. See, there's a difference in generation here. Because what was going on during Tom Clancy's novels? The Cold War. See, there's something different about the kids today. They're coddled. The problem. And it's a fault of the parents. And it's a fault of the school system, because to be able to get into the schools, you have to have such high scores and be, starting a nonprofit organization at age 4, or, created a, multi-billion-dollar app company or something. There's no where's the virtue in these kids? So if you are in corporate, and let's say you just went to a middle of the road school, all right, and you have individuals in your workforce that you're working alongside, or they're your managers, and they came from Ivy League, take advantage of them, because they can't think. They can't think. Take advantage of them.
This sometimes can trigger folks that are on the edge of that radicalization to begin with.
Tom Manger and Bob D'Amico, thank you both for joining us as we follow this break.
Why don't they ask? Why didn't the Afro on MS Now ask a real question like, where's the virtue of the students? That had the same wherewithal like the individuals at the Bondi beach. He knew the incident happened at Brown. He could have brought that up. He didn't. The reality of the situation is that we have a group of people in our society that are coming from the Ivy League that don't have virtue. They don't have virtue. It's that simple. It's that simple, and it's because of this ultra liberal bullshit. It's the socialism. It's the Marxism. It's the coddled generation. It's parents that their kid is so special. Your kid's not special unless that child is willing to sacrifice. That's not special. Coddled kids aren't special. All right. Let's continue with Fox News. as I continue on my diatribe. But before we do, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the olive leaf extract. This will help to bring down inflammation and help you to control your lipid profile. This will help with your immune system and your cardiovascular system. And digestive enzyme complex reduces the load on your pancreas, so it maintains the health of your pancreas, helps with ease of digestion, helps to break up carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. It has bromelain in it, which is really important to break up clots, and it has the proteolytic enzymes to break up glycoproteins, which is really important for sub-K, razor throat, these things that are floating around that people can contract, because you're going to need to break up those glycoproteins. So please take my advice. Get the digestive enzyme complex, ease the digestion, help with your pancreatic health, and be prepared for the winter season. Be a sheepdog.
Including a suspected shooter after a horrific terror attack at a Hanukkah party in Sydney, Australia, marking the worst attack on the Jewish community since October 7th.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst is here with the latest. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. There's been a terrorist attack in Sydney, Australia. At least 12 people are dead and more than 24 wounded after 2 gunmen opened fire on Jews at a Hanukkah party along Bondi Beach. Australia's Prime Minister reacted to the event, saying this.
This is a targeted attack on Jewish Australians on the first day of Hanukkah, which should be a day of joy, a celebration of faith, an act of evil anti-Semitism.
And this is just the primer. This is the prologue. This is the trailer. Why do I say this? On September 11th, 2026, a curse will be coming down on the whole world. And it's going to last from September 11th, 2026 until the beginning of October of 2027. So you better start getting prepared. Because the reality of the situation is, this person doesn't deserve to live. 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 This one, you don't deserve to live. I don't even deserve to live. We've all fucked up. We've all fucked up. Every single person on this planet. We haven't done the right thing. We haven't figured it out to have peace and prosperity and to have virtue. And the society is devolving. We're going to get cursed. Now, how it all plays out, I don't know. But it's going to happen.
That has struck the heart of our nation.
Local police put out a statement saying 2 people are in police custody at Bondi Beach. However, the police operation is ongoing, and we continue to urge people to avoid the area. Please obey all police directions. Do not cross police lines. Now, they have updated this statement to say one of the attackers is dead. Another remains in police custody. This event was scheduled to start at 5 p.m. local time in Sydney and was advertised for all ages with music, games, and fun. One person describes what they saw and heard nearby.
As soon as I arrived, we heard pop, 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 pop. We at first thought it was fireworks, so we did not react. People around us did not react. And then the popping did not stop. It was continuous. And then people started to panic, and we started to see hundreds of people running around, not sure where the sound was coming from. Unsure, again, if it was fireworks or if it was shooting bullets.
We're also getting reaction from Israeli officials following this terrorist attack in Australia. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says anti-Semitism is a cancer spreading around the world. Trump administration officials also weighing in, with Attorney General Pam Bondi saying, quote, heartbreaking news from Sydney, Australia. My prayers go out to the victims, their families, and the Jewish community. The Attorney General, an advocate for Jews not only in the United States, but around the world. Again, the latest information that we have, though, 12 murdered in Sydney, Australia. during this terrorist attack, and police remain on the scene there along the beach. Guys, back to you.
Hi, Trey. We're finally seeing this video of the civilian in Australia on Bondi Beach taking down the shooter. So he's behind a vehicle. He sees the shooter. He tackles him, wrestles away the gun, takes the gun, and then it looks like he's going to fire at him. But that doesn't.
See, let's zoom in on here. All right, he engages to neutralize the shooter, and he took risks, his own life. He took the risk of losing his own life to protect others. This is what the Brown students should have done. In the engineering building, they should have coordinated. All you needed was about, 3 or 4 or 5 or more males to hunt down that shooter in that building. And if they were smart engineers, supposedly they are, they're from Brown, you'd have a team inside and you'd have a team outside, making sure that whoever exited was subdued. Now, the Brown students didn't do that because they were coddled, because they think that big government's going to save them, that mommy wants to coddle them. Right there. That's what we need. It was in Australia. Why doesn't the Americans learn something from the Australians? Right here. Right here. You subdued the perpetrator. The Brown students didn't have the balls to do that. Didn't have the balls to do that. You have hundreds of students that have these cell phones that are heavy. You could easily overpower a shooter with throwing the cell phone at them at the same time. And then overtake and de-arm and beat the shit out of them. But the students didn't do that. The students didn't do that. So don't tell me that the Brown students are heroes. Don't tell me that they're, survivors of a catastrophe. Because of their weakness, it happened. When you're strong, things don't happen. This is exactly what should have happened in the campus of Brown University. Students rising up and fighting. No, they gotta hide. They gotta hide. Gotta hide. Why? Why? Tell me, what life of those students deserve the existence that they have today, or the blessings that they have? What did they do to deserve it? Nothing. Nothing. Literally nothing.
What do you see? Is it that the bullets have run out? Is it perhaps that, this is a country that, has very strict gun laws, maybe not as many trained gun users? Is it possibly doesn't know how to use the gun? Clearly a hero, though, nonetheless. Trey?
Local media in Australia is reporting that the man's name is Ahmed Al-Ahmad, a 43-year-old who runs a fruit stand nearby. And he, as you see in this video, takes down the gunman and takes the weapon from him, ultimately disarming him and of the killing that was taking place there. He's being praised as a hero across Australia and the world. We don't know the specifics as to why the gun was not fired at that point or if it malfunctioned, but we do know that officials on the scene have recovered at least 2 firearms, and they also say in a vehicle near to where this terrorist attack took place, they recovered an IED, an improvised explosive device. Again, an indication that these 2 terrorists planned meticulously to go after Jews who were celebrating the first night of Hanukkah along the beach there in Sydney.
Can you tell us anything more about that vehicle? Was it a vehicle that I assume? It's
I guess what we need to do is just have more immigration of Australians and have them go to Ivy League schools so they can protect the students. because the students that currently are at the Ivy League, like Brown, they're weak. They're weak. They're weak. They're not willing to fight. They're not willing to coordinate. They're not smart enough to coordinate. They're not smart enough to use their cell phones to coordinate with students within the same building to be able to neutralize the individual in the building and to have a team outside of the building to subdue anyone that's leaving, to make sure that they don't have the perpetrator escape. Not smart enough to do that, but they're smart enough to go to Brown.
Both arrived in?
We don't know the specifics. The information that we received just was from Australian authorities who held a press conference earlier today confirming that there were 12 individuals murdered and more than 24 wounded. We saw some aerial images in local news media in Australia of this vehicle that was surrounded by Australian security forces. We don't know the details about how they arrived. All of this taking place, again, just a few hours ago in Sydney, Australia. But we do anticipate that Australian authorities will update as they gather more information into this investigation. Local media in Australia also reporting that first responders arrived at a scene near to where the shooting took place, a house where they believe one of the individuals was previously living or staying in. So they are conducting a thorough investigation, and we do anticipate that Australian officials will be in communication not only with Israeli counterparts, who we understand will assist in the investigation to try to determine any sort of other broader terrorism ties to these individuals, but also certainly American counterparts in Washington. Guys.
And no doubt they are working hard on that in the carryout behind you in that live shot. Trey Inks, great reporting as always. We will come back to you.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin D3. It's super important for the winter season. You know why. It helps to get rid of cells that are infected. It soaks up, it helps to absorb calcium. If you do resistance training, it's going to build better bone density. Vitamin D3 helps with gene expression. It's a cofactor for gene expression, really important. It also helps with your cardiovascular health. Super important to take every day. And get the C60. C60 is a very strong antioxidant. You can get it in avocado, extra virgin olive oil, and MCT coconut oil. You can get it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. It is cheaper to buy per ounce with the higher ounce configuration. That's a great way to save money. Take a teaspoon a day every day. Why? Because it's going to soak up free radicals and help multiple systems. It's going to help with your endocrine system, help with your immune system, help with your brain function, help with your cardiovascular system. When you're soaking up free radicals, you're reducing stress in the cell and in your tissues. You're going to have more energy. You're going to have more ATP. You'll have more vitality. You're going to reduce plaque formation. It's 1,000 times stronger than vitamin C. Take a teaspoon a day every day, preferably on an empty stomach. And if you work out, take it before your workout, and you will recover quicker. This is a cornerstone to slowing down the aging process. I've been taking C60 every day since 2016. All right? So we're talking about almost 10 years. Every day. It soaks up free radicals, and it works really well with resveratrol, and it stacks really well with Boomer Boost, lignans, turmeric, ashwagandha, right? Take it every day. And what you're going to notice is that your skin is going to improve because it helps with the basal layer, especially if you take it with resveratrol. And so your skin is going to look healthier. In addition, your endocrine system is going to improve. You're soaking up the free radicals, so you're not oxidizing. You're not rusting. All right? When you age, you rust. All right? So you're not oxidizing. So because you're soaking up those free radicals. So you're slowing down the aging process. You're going to have more energy. You're going to feel the effects of it within 2 months. And if you do a compare before and after, you will look younger 1 year later. So take it 1 year to do an experiment. Take a teaspoon a day every day and do it before and after. Drink filtered water. Make sure you stay away from processed foods. Do a little bit of resistance training and cardiovascular stretching and balancing. Mindfulness. some spirituality, right? Proper diet and exercise, and you do the C60 little experiment for 1 year, you will look younger. Please go to my store, use discount 5, you get $5 off any order. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. And oh, by the way, if you have kids, start instilling virtue and risk-taking and protecting the herd. Because do you want to have a child that is a person that hides? Is it better to have a child that's in a situation like what we just had? And if they were to die, all right, heaven forbid, but if they were to die, would you rather have that child die with a bullet in the back of their head or in the front of their head? Are they running away or are they engaging to protect people? There is virtue in trying to be a hero to saving lives. No, people will hide. People will hide. People will hide. Every single male that was in that engineering building, every single one of them, should really sit down and think about how they fucked up by not subduing the perpetrator. And they don't deserve the life that they have. And they don't deserve the opportunities that their education is going to give them because they didn't apply their brain to a really serious problem in real time. Raising a child that takes risks to protect the herd is a better child than someone that hides.
Really rare mass shooting in Australia. We're going to speak to our international affairs editor, Shirley Sitbon, who joins me now on set. Hi, Shirley. So this has been described, of course, as an anti-Semitic terrorist attack specifically targeting then Australia's Jews. What has the Australian Jewish community been saying then?
Well, it's been in shock, devastated, clearly, but feeling also not just fear and sadness, but also anger. And we can look at a tweet sent by one organization. Maybe you can read it. It says that this is a shock, but it's not really a surprise because the number of anti-Semitic attacks in the country has been multiplied by 5 since October 7th. So we can read this. What happened tonight is a tragedy, but entirely foreseeable. The Albanese government was warned so many times, but failed to take adequate actions to protect the Jewish community. That's from the Australian Jewish Association CEO. And even the neighborhood where this has happened, Bondi Beach, nearby, there was a brewery, which was, its front door was torched. Kosher deli, which was also set alight. These are images from today, of course, but throughout these past 2 years, many attacks across Australia, also Melbourne. Actually, we know that a similar event was canceled apparently in Melbourne to avoid any insecurity. And also even threats there was a case of 2 nurses in Sydney Hospital who were suspended because they threatened to kill Jewish patients and refusing to treat them on TikTok. So events of the sort. And a few days ago, Jewish officials from across the world met in Australia to talk about this trend and about a plan to tackle anti-Semitism. But there was a whole debate in Australia where sometimes some people said that some of the measures suggested could be a blow to free speech. So it was being debated, but nothing apparently was actually applied from this new plan. And we don't know if the government is trying to change his way of fighting anti-Semitism.
Now, Shirley, can you tell us more about the event then where this shooting occurred, the significance that it had, again, for the Jewish community?
Yeah, this is one of the most important holidays, definitely the most festive one, probably in Jewish life. Hanukkah, the first day of Hanukkah. Across the world, people unite, and there on Bondi Beach, maybe you can see a map of the area to see where they were gathering. 1,000 people to light the first candle of Hanukkah, and it was really, just in a park next to the beach. We can see it on the next to, we can see the shooting next to a playground, next to a pavilion. Many people, of course, on the beach. We saw these images of people running away from there, and people gather on that day, Jewish people, to light, often in public. And there's an organization called Chabad which organized this specific event on Bondi Beach. And across the world, this organization has representatives everywhere, even when there's no Jewish community. In case a Jew person comes along and wants to have religious services, pray, or they have various representatives there. And their rabbi, the representative in Australia, was killed today in this attack. And actually, the Chabad organization has been targeted several times before because they are everywhere across the world and they're seen as a target by terrorist group and anti-Semitic groups. Of course, what we've seen also, we talked about these people that tried to stop the attack, tried to help, and perhaps many Jews in Australia can look at the images of people who held apparently victims' arms while they were waiting for emergency services to arrive, sometimes saving lives. People who, no matter the danger, stayed there to help out the victims. That's something that all Australians can look up to and think about today after this tragedy to try and come together. We heard various officials saying that time is to wrap, the Jewish community and all the country comes together at these difficult times.
Shirley Sitbon, our International Affairs Editor, thank you very much.
You're not a child, you're a man. So stop wearing so many layers to go outside. And get the Bearskin Tactical Hoodie 4.0, the 10-pocket tactical micro.
Alrighty, it looks like they're doing another update. Oh, okay, doesn't look like they're playing it. Let's go to live now here.
Probable means there is a 50% chance of an act of terror, and unfortunately, we've seen that horrific act occur tonight in Australia. Thank you. Few questions. Charles?
Robert, as you call this terror, are you aware of any other terror threats at the moment? And what's your message moving through?
Let's go to France 24. Let's listen.
The original projected revenues for the ticketing for the World Cup was in the region of 1.8 billion, and that's at the time when the bid was submitted in 2018. At that time, the cheapest ticket was supposed to be 21.
No. Let's see here. I'm trying to find some live feeds that everything is in waiting. I'll tell you, society is starting to devolve. And because of it, there's a big curse. There's a big curse coming. People aren't paying attention, but it's coming. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the ashwagandha root. This will help to control the cortisol levels and your blood glucose levels, bring down inflammation, help with your cardiovascular health, and also help with your immune system. Very important. Turmeric will soak up free radicals, bring down inflammation. It's a great way to recover after a workout. If you're not feeling so well, take extra turmeric to help recover quicker. It also helps to soak up the free radicals, so it's an antioxidant. And when you do this on a regular basis, you're improving your immune system, you're improving your cardiovascular system, and you're improving the health of your neurons. By bringing down inflammation at the cerebral level, you're protecting your neurons, super important. And lignans. Helps with the immune system and the endocrine system, brings down inflammation, and sucks up free radicals. When you stack these together, you're supercharging your immune system. You should be doing this every day to slow down the aging process, because if you have a good immune system, you're slowing down the aging. And you'll have more vitality when you get older. So you can be a sheepdog, not a bunch of beta males at Brown University. Now, by taking lignans, ashwagandha, and turmeric together, you're helping your immune system, your endocrine system, and bringing down that inflammation at the cerebral level, maintaining the myelin sheath of your neurons, super important. So you get added benefits when you take this. You're bringing down inflammation at the vascular level, you're reducing plaque formation. Super important. And when you couple it with proper diet, proper exercise, proper supplementation, drinking filtered water, staying away from processed foods, having mindfulness or spirituality, learning new things, that holistic approach will slow down the aging process and you'll be healthy. Now, there are other podcasters that have a large catalog of supplements like I do, but very few are using them or using them properly to slow down the aging process. Take my advice. I'm in my 50s. Do I look like I'm in my 50s? No. All right? You're supposed to say no. Take my advice. Get the supplements from my store. Take them the way I'm taking them and apply a holistic approach to slow down the aging process. That way you are healthier, you have more vitality, and you're reducing your healthcare costs, especially when you get into your geriatric years. Please pay attention, take my advice, slow down the aging process. All right. The live streams for the next update for Brown hasn't taken place yet. I'm going to shut down the broadcast for today. Thank you for listening. I greatly appreciate it. Also, tonight is scheduled, and hopefully we'll be doing the live stream with John Hogue. So that's going to be at 10 o'clock New York time. All right. So please stay tuned, participate, ask questions. It's an interactive show. It's fun. So please be available. Watch the show at 10 o'clock tonight. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.